It is a Monday morning mailbag on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm Scott Belford, joined by the best co host in the biz, Adam Mack. This is the walk off. Every single week, we comb through your interaction and get to as many questions and comments as we can. The ways to get a hold of us is by reaching out on Twitter, a Walk Off Podcast, Blue Sky, The Walk Off Podcast, same with Instagram, The Walk Off Podcast. If you need to, if you absolutely must get your question or comment in, the way to do that is join the Patreon for $4 a month. You get automatic entrance into the mailbag. You get instant access to all of our interviews as well as bonus content in the form of MLB Mondays. On that, we're going to dive right in here. We're going to start with Patreon. So, Adam, you and I were having a little pull through parking conversation, right? About
Well, you know what? One of our better preambles.
it was a good little preamble, which is another thing you get if you're a part of Patreon is the preamble off the top. So, we were talking about one of our pet peeves is mine, anyways, is when you pull in. My wife does this. She'll pull in, there'll be an empty parking spot ahead of her, and she won't go the rest of the way to pull through.
What a
Right?
waste.
We love a good pull through. So
Hmm.
this is in response to that. This is from Metal Manic. He's like, I'll push back on the pull through comment. All for the pull through, except for Costco. It's pretty essential to have trunk access with those massive carts. Costco is always a big haul. Very true. By the way, Metal Manic, not the only one to bring up a Costco run here. I know Ian in Patreon also said basically the same thing. So we will allow this push through or this pushback on the pull through.
Push
Uh,
back on the pull through,
Pushback
indeed.
on the pull through. All right.
Can I also add that Johnny commented and said this pull through thing is so a Seinfeld episode that never happened. And that just feels so
Like the best
correct.
compliment we could have got. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, getting into some baseball talk here. There was a little bit of this isn't the only Andres Gimenez comment. So this is just the top of the iceberg here, but we'll dive in. So this is
Yeah.
from Trevor. He goes, Gimenez is a plus mitt for 20 million AAV on a back end load. Honestly, people liking that deal are drunk on Rogers' largesse in this new big spend environment. 67 WRC plus on his way to another 80-ish and a sub 3 F war season. They got 2.2 F war out of Clement for $7,000 in 2024. I don't mind him in the 9 hole. So all of this is kind of to touch on what we were talking about, which was that some people are really up in arms about this Gimenez contract. Honestly, I'm still in the boat. Time will tell, right? Like we are 1 month in to this acquisition. I do think he's going to finish the season around a 90 WRC plus. I think his OPS plus is going to be in that 95 zone. I think he's just going to be slightly below average offensively. I think he's going to steal 30 to 40 bases and be the best middle infield glove on this team. Is that worth 20 million a year? Probably not. I just really don't feel like it is the worst contract that they could have picked up. It is I get the pushback because this does feel, Adam, a little bit like a microcosm of this entire organization, which is kind of bloated right now. Like they are a big, chunky payroll in the whole list of MLB payrolls. I think they're fifth in Major League Baseball this year. And, when you're sitting at 16 and 18, it's easy to point at some of these guys.
Yeah. I do think I do think the landscape in which the contract was acquired, though, has to be taken into consideration. Like just the general context of we weren't sure Vlad was sticking around. Like, if you had to be honest, on a balance of probabilities, it felt like he was probably at least going to test free agency. That felt almost a certainty,
Mm-hmm.
and that he seemed like there was hurt feelings, and that David Ortiz was dangling, Boston's offer should be XYZ, right? Like,
Yeah.
so it felt like he was leaving. Bo Bichette has never felt like a lock to
Yeah.
return. So there was a little bit of a like, we need something like beyond the 2025 season, and a little bit of like leverage in our favor against a Bo Bichette heist, right? To be
Yes.
like, God forbid there's an alternate timeline here where we reach this off season. It's November. Vladdy has just signed with the Mets when we don't have the Andres Gimenez middle infield solution.
Mm-hmm.
And now Bo says, all right, boys, here's my demands. You can't let me leave. And I want 350, 400 million, like something absurd that we're just like, okay, like staring down the barrel of like an absolute revolt from the fan base as both guys leave and we have nothing to look forward to. And it's like, okay, we're going to be strutting out Addison Barger and Ernie Clement as our middle infielders for the next 5 years until Arjun Amal is maybe ready. Like,
I
so
think
I
I
think
think
that
you're
was a
really
factor.
I think you're really onto something here, man. That the safety net that is Andres Gimenez is really one of the bigger reasons why they made this move. He was available because Cleveland's cheap and didn't want to pay him. And again, am I arguing that this isn't an overpay? It is an overpay. For what he is,
Mm-hmm.
it is an overpay.
Yeah,
And I do understand
I'm
that.
with you.
However, there is a lot of value to this guy that maybe is being ignored because of the constant overpay of it all with this team. You look around the diamond and you're like, man, there's not a lot of bargains on this team. Like
Yeah,
you look at Ernie Clement's a great example of a bargain, and still the biggest hole on this team is probably third base, especially when you look at the offensive side of things. And I'm not shitting on Ernie. I love Ernie. I think that there's a spot on this team for Mr. Clement, even if they did go out and get a legit third baseman. When I say legit, I mean with the bat, by the way. I'm not questioning
right.
Ernie's defense. In fact, everyone's defense outside of maybe Bo Bichette and Vladdy Guerrero are pretty exceptional on this team. And Santander, I guess, also lacks defensive prowess. But
Man, it's
and
funny you
and
say
Vladdy
that
has a
though.
gold glove, right? And Vladdy has a gold
Okay,
glove.
I don't know if this could just be recency bias. I feel like he's having a Gold Glove season again at first.
He has looked good, hasn't he?
He's looked so good,
Yeah.
but again, I don't. It's funny, like you can make, but this is also kind of how Gold Gloves work. I think it's like it's not just statistically. You had the ultimate best UZR DXY PQ 11 plus rating. You win the award, right? Like it's not there's a vibe check to a Gold Glove,
Of
right?
course there is.
So like highlights, I think are a bigger contribution to your resume than any sort of defensive metric.
I will say also, Adam, that I think one of the reasons that Vladdy won the Gold Glove when he did is that this was the year before Bo Bichette kind of shored up his defense and
Was
became a league
doing a lot
average
of bailing. Yeah.
shortstop. So he was doing those ridiculous splits and
Yeah.
jumping and catching, like the lack
Mm-hmm.
of defense Bo was providing allowed for those highlight catches and stuff at first base that
True. It's true. I, I guess this year maybe he's not doing so many redemption on Bo Bichette throws, but I've been seeing him like look athletic.
Mhm.
Like a lot of balls hit Vladdy's way that I'm seeing him make some incredible dives for.
Mhm.
Right? He's been showing off his arm strength on like throws to two and everything. I don't know. I've been impressed with Vladdy, honestly,
Listen,
defensively
Vladdy's
this year.
Vladdy's defense is fine, and that's never going to be the problem. right? So like when there may be times when we're pulling our hair out because Vladdy makes a bonehead move. It is the one mistake Vladdy is prone to is thinking mistakes. We've seen him on the base path. We've seen him hit 110. Vladdy's favorite move is to hit a 110-mile-an-hour ball off the wall and then try and stretch that into two and be thrown out by 10 feet, right? And like if
Indeed.
if we can hit a point where those are no longer in his repertoire, he becomes instantly a much better player because honestly, there's not a lot of places you can point to that Vladdy needs work on, and his base running is a big one.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. Did you have anything else on Andres Gimenez? Because I think the biggest point here to take out of this that you're making is the fact that Bo Bichette can walk now, and they do have a very, very good shortstop in Andres Gimenez. I'm well aware that the money does not equal what he is offensively. Yet, who knows?
Well,
I'm not saying that Andres Gimenez will ever be 2022 Gimenez again. But can he be average offensively? I think it's in him. He's 26 years old. I don't know. But to write him
okay.
off now seems wild to me. Like we're a month into his tenure here with the Jays. He's still getting his feet wet in Toronto.
So, yeah, I guess the other thing is just that, like, yeah, okay, 23-ish million on like on the back end of this
Yeah.
contract for the last 3 years after his ARB is finished being bought out is a lot to pay for a second baseman. Although,
Mm-hmm.
don't tell the Texas Rangers. Um, but yeah, there is a factor of like, okay, but if he's our shortstop next season, all of a sudden you go, hey, Dansby Swanson got $180 million over 7 years.
Yeah.
He's got a career OPS under 100.
It's
Dansby
also
Swanson OPS plus for his career 96. Andre Gimenez 99. Like Dansby Swanson 177 million over 7 years. That's his contract.
mm-hmm.
So like I don't know, that's 28 million a year. That's all of a sudden if you go, well, Gimenez maybe our shortstop. That's a reasonably priced shortstop for like a Gold Glove shortstop that hits like unimpressive but not killing you offensive numbers. I don't know. They can steal. Like stealing's worth something.
This
I
is
still think stealing is one of those value adds that isn't properly captured by any current offensive measurements.
that's the thing too is if you like how many doubles is Andres Gimenez going to hit this year?
Right.
20? So if he hits 20 doubles and he steals 35 bases, he's on pace for 40, but let's go low.
Yeah, yeah,
He steals 35 bases. You can chalk that up to 55 doubles.
yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
Again, well aware he's an expensive piece, and it is really easy to shit on the guy after he has his 0 for 20 stretch. He's come out the other end of it, and he's improved his batting average by 25 points in the last like 4 games. So you know how cold Gimenez was. But if he can literally hit 220 and put up a 90 to 100 OPS plus, I'm kind of happy with it because he is an incredible defensive player and he's providing value that this team doesn't have in areas that they don't have anyone to step up, which is being good on the base path and stealing bases, being able to lay
He
down a bunt when it's called on him.
he also was one of like the offensive catalysts keeping this team going in the first 2 weeks of the
Yeah.
season. So like, yeah, I mean, he's not a cleanup hitter. He's a
And
seven, eight,
yes,
nine guy.
yes, $20 million for a 789 guy is expensive. I'm not saying it's not. What I'm saying is that at the end of this contract, I really don't think it's going to be one of those contracts that Blue Jays fans talk about as some albatross for the rest of time. In fact, and a lot of you are going to hate this, I think that Vladdy's contract is probably far worse in the end than Andres
Mm-hmm.
Gimenez will ever be viewed as.
Mm-hmm.
Also, love that
Very
we
true.
signed Vladdy.
Also love that we signed Vladdy. Indeed. Um, so the tax number for Gimenez is 15 million a year,
Yeah,
AAV.
yeah.
So it is a little unfair to use to measure the last 4 years of his contract, 23 and a half, 23 and a half, 23 and a half, 23 and a half, and be like, that's where we're gonna
Focus on.
focus on because I just think the AAV is so much more relevant
Mm-hmm.
from for the position the Jays are in, right? So I don't know.
I do like the
I
way
don't know.
Trev summed it up, though, that people liking the deal are drunk on Rogers' largesse. Like, they are a big payroll, and they are paying a lot of money for a second baseman. We'll see how it all works out in the end.
Drunk on payroll. What does that mean?
Just that we've become, I think what he's saying is that we've become accustomed to big time spending. And I do get the fear of, like, as a long-term Jays fan here, I do get the fear of, what if this ownership gets tired of this, right? What if they're like, all right, enough with the $275 million a year payroll. We're going back down to 140 for a few years. That will be a tough pill to swallow if Gimenez is one of those guys that are still on the team while they've shed everyone else. But
I'm not at all worried about that happening
I'm,
because
yeah,
of what we gave Vladdy.
yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat.
Um, yeah, I think for the life of his contract, that was a commitment that for 14 years we're going to spend, and we know that we're going to have to spend because otherwise, man, it is just like I don't know. You don't get 3 years into the Vladdy deal and then be like, well, this is enough of this.
Mm-hmm.
Like you wouldn't have given him 14 years and then been like, I'm over it.
Grounds crew, go ahead and drop your thoughts on Andres Gimenez. Where are you at on the guy? Are you in the let's wait and see how this all plays out boat? Are you strongly in the way too expensive camp? Are you a big Jimenez fan, and why? Feel free to drop your comments. Moving on
I
here.
think
Oh, go ahead, sir.
we don't develop enough homegrown talent to do anything other than overspend.
This is the crux of the whole problem, man, is player development is killing this team, and it's why they constantly need to overpay for other people's developed players.
Yep.
And it's just hell, they had to overpay for their own developed talent in Vladdy.
Because again, this is where it's like, okay, Gimenez for $23 million, is that an overpay? Arguably, yes. But the alternative is Will Wagner 150 times a year. Or,
Like, listen, Arjun Namala is one of the best prospects that this Blue Jay system has had
but the cookie hasn't baked yet.
since probably Bo or Vlad, and that is about that's my point, Adam. Is that Arjun Namala is a 19-year-old kid who is excelling at High A Vancouver, but is probably 2 years away from truly contributing in a meaningful way to this Blue Jays team. And there's nothing wrong with that. He'll be 21 at the time.
Yeah.
And you should be excited about Arjun Namala. But there is a very, very good reason why they have a safety net in Gimenez. Because if Bo walks, there is still some real waiting time before our next everyday shortstop is developed within. And so the next 4 years of Gimenez kind of is the perfect stopgap, even if it is 5 to 6 million more a year than you want to spend for that type of player. And it probably is. Now, is it the worst
Yeah,
contract in the history of the Blue Jays? I will fight tooth and nail with anyone who wants to argue that. I think that's a wild take.
let's move on.
This one's from Mish. We were talking about Bowden Francis and just his last couple rough starts and why you and I aren't really all that worried about it. We were kind of making the Manoah comparison. So Mish goes, not only is Bowden older and more mature than Manoah, he's not coming off a Cy Young season. He's coming off a wow, you were really fucking great in September year. So he has stuff to prove, right? He's also a total Zen master, so completely different mindset on and off the field from Manoah. I don't see him plotting due to the expectation pressure. And I hope Misha's right. And I will say, yeah, when you're just looking at the way they go about their business, two very, very different men, right? Like Manoah was very much full of piss and vinegar and machismo, if you will. Whereas Bowden really is, as she says, kind of the master of Zen, where,
Hmm.
trust your shit, let it eat, right?
Yep.
Moving on, we were talking about runners in scoring position, and Johnny Eaton chimes in with, okay, so get this. Team OPS plus with runners in scoring position. In 2020, 10th. In 2021, third in Major League Baseball with a 114. 2022, eighth, 108. 2023, 94. So now below average, and that's 20th. 97 in 2024, that's 21st. 73 this year, which is 28th in baseball. That's OPS plus with runners in scoring position. He sums it up with, that's just brutal. I wonder what changed to cause this? Question mark. The emoji with the hand on his chin.
Hmm.
The emoji with the hand on his chin, followed by emoji with the monocle in the eye. Yeah, I mean, I almost want to skip ahead here to um, the John Schneider question. Yeah, here it is. Okay, this is from Madison. She DM'd on Twitter, and then we can talk about both of these. He goes,
Okay.
"Hey guys." She goes, "Hey guys, love the pod. I listened today to today's episode with Scott and Keegan. I know John Schneider can't be blamed for everything, but it feels like his tenure is directly correlated with the drop in offense. We are 3 years into this. Should a little more blame be on John?" Now, I tied these questions together, Adam, because of John Schneider joined the Blue Jays midseason in 2022. From that point on, they went from a top rated OPS plus team with runners in scoring position to a bottom third team. Now, there's some other things that happened here, Adam.
Okay.
Teoscar Hernandez departed then. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. departed then. And it's easy to, I mean, Don Mattingly was inserted into the coaching staff at this time. And everyone has their own scapegoat, right? There's a lot of people that are like, they should have never let Teo go. There's a lot of, I can't believe they reconfigured the offense. There's a lot of, this is on Don Mattingly. There's a lot of, this is on John Schneider. I personally believe it starts at the top. I think that this is philosophical, and I think that they made a swing that they didn't think would be quite this drastic. And they're still having trouble getting it back. There's a lot of reason you can blame John Schneider for stuff, but offense is a tough one to pin on him, in my opinion. I'm totally up for hearing the other side of things, and I'm totally fine with a comment here. Drop your comments below, Grounds Crew. I really feel like this problem lies at Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins' feet. And yeah, they've adjusted and they've done some stuff. And I do look at this team this year, even though they're 2 games below 500 right now. I do have more hope in this team than I had in this team last year at any time. I truly do. I think this is a better team than 2024. Can they win 88 games and make a wild card? I even think they probably can. Offense continues to be a problem, and this is why it's so hard to be a Blue Jays fan right now. Is it's really tough to watch the same fault on a team, the same
Mhm.
hole, just year after year. It feels like the same thing. So, to kind of answer Johnny's question, it's not really a question, more of a smart comment about he wonders what changed, but it's the philosophical hitting, right? Like they've changed what they were trying to do, and I think they have tried to swing back. It just hasn't worked out that way yet.
When Charlie Montoyo was let go, did you ever think we'd pine for the days of Charlie Montoyo and
Not in
that
a
high flying
million years,
offense?
buddy. Not in a million years. And here we are. Bring me
Yeah,
the
I don't know,
bring
man.
me the bongo man.
So you're a John Schneider apologist then.
I don't know if I'm a John Schneider apologist, but I don't think that all of the woes for this team lay at his feet. There have been some frustrating. Listen, you want to talk things I really disagreed with John Schneider leaving fucking Kevin Gosman in for 53 pitches, and I am well aware that there is a lot of because of the whole Jose Barrios of it all in the playoffs. There's a lot of people who would have torn him apart for pulling Kevin Gosman too soon. But I just don't think you can leave your fucking guy in for 50 plus pitches in one inning, right? Like it
Yeah, it
just,
gives Patrick Waugh vibes, doesn't it? Um, I think I think you're onto something with John Schneider, and that it's not like the timing is unfortunate,
yeah,
and I think he's going to be a victim of the circumstances. He's going to be sandwiched in between two offensive eras. I
yeah.
think I think he's not long for this world. Sorry, this league. I don't think he's going to get murdered. Um, but
You
I
know,
think that part of that pivot towards like, okay, being the best defensive team in baseball and having a win percentage that starts with a 4,
yeah.
not a recipe for success. Let's lean back into the home runs, and while we're at it, a fresh start from the managerial situation.
I think the most likely scenario here, Adam, is that if this if this team doesn't succeed and make the playoffs, I think Ross Atkins is gone, and I think John Schneider goes with him. And I think that they give the new general manager their first shot at whatever manager they want to do. Could be wrong. I mean, we have been talking about the fact that Ross Atkins probably deserves the boot for what, years now? For years, for sure, for years. So, are we just stuck
Yeah,
with these guys? We might be.
I think as soon as the Jays are eliminated from the playoffs this year,
Yeah.
whether that's September 30th or August 30th, whenever we're mathematically out, can Atkins immediately.
Yeah.
I do not want uh,
I don't want to
a
hear from
dead.
them. I don't want to
I
hear
don't
from
want
them.
to. I don't want a dead oyster driving the cart. You know what
Yep.
I mean? Like
Yep.
I just whoever the next guy is that's going to be negotiating the Bo Bichette deal, I want to be the guy that's here for the next 5, 6 years, right? Who's going to have to deal with the fallout of either losing him or overpaying him.
Hmm.
Right? Like I don't want Ross Atkins being like, "Well, as my last move as Blue Jays general manager, I'm letting Bo walk for nothing."
Yeah.
Or I also don't want him being like, "We locked him up, guys. 487 million. We got him."
Yeah.
And then fired the next year, and now the new GM is like, "How the fuck am I supposed to build a team around this payroll?"
As it is, it
So
kind of feels like a dead man walking is making deals for us right now. Like,
yeah, no, truly, and I mean that was part of the we've heard from players not wanting to or being trepidatious about signing with the Jays is like
There's a
the
huge question
Raphael
mark around the
Devers
front
of it all,
office.
right? Like
Yes.
Devers signed his big deal to be the third baseman of the Red Sox. The next season, the guy he did the deal with
Yeah.
isn't there anymore, and the new
Shane
guy's like,
Bloom leaves, and
you're
now
actually
he's a
gonna just
DH.
DH for us,
Yeah.
right? So, if Bo is like, and I'm just throwing this out there as a for example, because the parallel with Devers makes sense. If Bo, who a lot have argued isn't cut out to play shortstop, but if Bo is stubborn in his mind about that like I, it's more important to me to play 20 years as a shortstop in Major League Baseball and make $100+ million, which he will for
Yeah.
sure, than it is to get demoted to a less prestigious position and make more money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that that's the case, but if that's the case, that if that's a consideration of his, um, that's probably going to be a factor. Is like, okay, Ross Atkins can't guarantee that I'm actually going to get to play shortstop for the next 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
He can guarantee I can play it one more year, maybe. And then, again, like the Shane Bloom in Boston situation, once he's gone, what's the new guy going to think, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that's a factor is like, well, let's just get him out, install Click as the new GM, and then Click can make the decision, right? And
Dear God, let them go outside the organization if they do this. Holy
yeah,
crap, I'm tired of this reshuffling of deck chairs. Anyways,
well, it works for the Liberals.
it did work for the Liberals. All right. This is not actually, I wrote this down because this isn't actually a question or comment from anyone, but friend of the show, Brian Crawford, longtime grounds
Mhm.
crew member of the Patreon here with the walk off. We really appreciate Brian, by the way, but
Love
he
Brian.
also writes prospect articles about the guys
Hmm.
within this Blue Jays organization, and he does such a good job. I know he just wrote about Bobby Malicki and Ryan Watson of the Fisher Cats. Check that out, by the way. Brian Crawford is his name. Jay's Prospectus is where you can find his articles. But if you are a fan of the prospect side of baseball, if you enjoy the inner workings and the development of guys, definitely check out Brian's work. It is fantastic. Moving on. Going to Twitter. This is, and you can always reach out on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast. Lots of people DM us. Our DMs are open. This is from Greg. He goes, dudes, honestly, I think Ross and John need to be fired.
Okay.
If not now, by end of May, if this continues. Just can't keep giving results like this with a $240 million payroll. They look terrible. Flat as fuck, no life. And yeah, if this team continues to play this way, something's got to give. I do think that they looked better in that Cleveland series. I mean, they did lose that series and gave up a they blew that Saturday game in grand fashion. It was brutal to see. And I know you listen to Blair and Barker and they kind of sum it up. Yeah, you're gonna have a couple games like that a year. I agreed. You are. How do they recover from this? They're the most difficult month of the schedule is done. I know there's no easy parts in 162 games. There's not. So if you're looking at the calendar trying to circle big areas where the Jays are going to go on some sort of 10-game win streak, probably not going to happen. However, they have kept their head above water against AL East teams. They have done all right against teams above 500. They need to go on a bit of a run here. Listen, when they played the Seattle Mariners, the Mariners were the team that looked like they were scuffling. They were a couple games under 500. The Blue Jays, I think, were 4 games up on them, or 4 games above 500, 3 or 4 games up on Seattle. And now Seattle's gone on a run. Their offenses looked amazing in the last month. And sometimes teams just put it together. Again, I am not expecting the Blue Jays to all of a sudden be a top 10 offense in baseball, but my God, if they can be in the middle third, you know, not the top or the bottom, I think that this team is good enough to be a wild card team, especially with the American League so wide open. Do I want Rogers to go out and add another player here? Like, do I want to see this payroll balloon even further? I mean, they went out and got Spencer Turnbull because their pitching is going through it right now. Yeah, I kind of do. And you know what? The fact that Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins went out and got Turnbull does show a little bit of a change in the way they've been thinking. I know this was one thing Keegan Matheson and I talked about yesterday morning was the fact that we haven't really seen this be this front office's MO, right? They normally wait till the trade deadline before bolstering, let alone so to go and dip into the free agent market in May. Not that there's a lot of great stuff left, but they did it. They went and spent money to patch some holes. JD Martinez incoming. I mean, I don't know who's out there that would really help. Could JD help? He possibly. Maybe he has something left in the tank. We are kind of wading into the Justin Turner, Brandon Belt territory when we do that, but could work out.
It's worked. It's worked
It has
before.
worked in the past.
Blue Jays schedule for the rest of May. Angels, Mariners, Rays, Tigers, Padres, Rays, Rangers, and the bad news Bears, the Athletics. This series against the Angels is the only series we have for the rest of the month against a team with a worse record than us.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, when you're splitting hairs at, okay, one team's 17 and 18, the other team's 16 and 18, it is what it is, right? Obviously, anything can go either way, but this is. I just want to remind everybody that, yeah, we're past the meat grinder of April, but May is the burger press of the schedule. I don't know my analogy here. It's not going to be that much easier. We have 24 games left this month. If we go to June 1st, say we go 12 and 12 and we're still 2 games under 500. Is that best case scenario?
I don't know. All the teams you just read off, they're all beatable. Like they're not juggernauts.
I know the Rays aren't a Goliath. We're playing them 6 times.
They're really the only team within the division we're playing this month.
Yeah, Tigers 22 and 13. They're leading the AL Central. The Padres might be the best team in baseball.
Yeah, the Padres are the big one. The Padres are the big ones in there. And I will say, when you look at the history of the Blue Jays going to the West Coast, it's not pretty. It sure would be nice if they could take 4 of 6 going into Los Angeles and Seattle. Could be a tall order.
Yeah.
Listen, Seattle is good because of their pitching. And the fact that they've started, like Jorge Polanco is playing out of this world. Is that sustainable? I don't know. He's been one of the best 2-hole hitters in baseball in the last month. Again, is that sustainable? We'll see.
Well, it's going to be an interesting pitching matchup in Seattle because I'm looking at our projected starters. It's Gausman versus Castillo.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And then game 2 is a shaky Bowden Francis against a wobbly Logan Evans for the Mariners, who's
Yes.
got a 7.2 ERA on the season.
Yeah.
Um, although he's only played 2 games. So whether that's good or not, I don't know. And then start number 3, the Mariners have a 4.15 ERA in Bryce Miller, and we've got TBD. So probably Jose Urania again, who is our TBD this week for
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's in Seattle. So
Mm-hmm.
edge Mariners for the home team there. If we take 2 out of 3, that's a huge win. If we split 1 and 2, you go, all right, that's not that bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm more worried about Castillo shutting us down than I am Gossman being able to go 7 innings right now
Yeah.
and lock down the Mariners. I don't know. It's
The best thing that could happen here, dude, is that they go in to Angel Stadium and they find some offense. Because, man, if this team can put up a few more runs, it would go so long. It would go so far in protecting this pitching staff a little bit. They're kind of running on fumes in the bullpen. They're trying to put together a starting staff here. We're seeing Jose Urania today. Uh, they did just go out and get Spencer Turnbull. They're kind of in against it right now when it comes to the pitching. So, yeah, hopefully they put up some runs and definitely take the pressure off of this pitching staff. We will move along here to Blue Sky. We are on Blue Sky now. That's the Walk Off podcast. This is from friend of the show, Jeff. He is a longtime listener and a good buddy, actually. He's come to the Baseball Towns here at Comedy Bar. By the way, Baseball Town back up and running this month. Thursday, May 15th. That is an afternoon game for the Jays. So you can watch that around 3 and then 7 o'clock. Come and hang out while we dissect the Blue Jays. Our panel is going to be none other than Keegan Matheson of MLB.com. Keegs actually has his book coming out June 2nd here. So we're going to pump that up and try and
is
get.
it a romance novel?
It is not a
Oh,
summer
damn.
skate. It's not a summer skate type of novel.
Damn.
He leaves the real steamy stuff to Sean Avery, as we all should.
Yeah.
But
Now, okay. Next time you talk to Keegan, say Adam wants a nice smutty book from Keegan
a
Matheson.
baseball smut book. Can you do
Yeah.
that, Keegs? Yes. We've got Tyson Shawishkowicz
Ooh,
and
well done.
thank you, and Nick Paleolog of Blue Jays Today. Tyson is with Blue Jays Nation. So we've got a good little panel there. We're doing the Yankees versus the Rays for the roast battle. Tickets available right now. You can get them
Nice.
at comedybar.ca and just type in Baseball Town into the search thing if you are listening on audio. And if you're on YouTube, well, the link is in the description or the comment section. So you can go take a look there and grab your tickets. We're excited for the show. Okay. All of that to say, Jeff will probably be there. He's a regular, comes out to most shows here. So he goes. We were kind of DMing back and forth a little bit about Andres Gimenez. He goes, I heard the analysis on the pod. It was cool. 20 million for a 9-hole dude. Look how much Cleveland was in to him after their years. Imagine looking at those 2 years combined with the back end of the deal and thinking it was the way to go. What's his AAV again? Is it 15?
It's 15 mil. Yeah.
It is 15 mil. It's still not that bad. Neither of you mentioned his deal. That's the biggest part. It's not an analysis of his D and ninth role. It's $100 million. So he's overpaid. Bad stretch being 3 years. I'm not going to give this one up. It's lunacy, which is fair. I feel differently, but that's fine. We're all allowed to.
I mean, I see both sides. Like on
Yeah,
the one hand,
I do
it
too.
is it definitely like it's either an overpay for his bat or it's paying for defensive value, which is a bad decision in its own right, right?
Mhm.
Like that's I mean, we just talked the whole John Schneider tenure has been Dalton Varsho and Kevin Kiermaier and like lockdown defense and like that's not the way to build a successful team. We've found out firsthand. So
Because they
you are
don't build anybody, they don't develop anyone. This
right.
is literally the problem. And far more than how much Gimenez is getting paid, we should all be holding this front office's feet to the fire over the fact that they never fucking develop a player.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Trev's comment off the top there about this, where he was just like, 700 million or $700,000 for 2.2 wins above replacement of Ernie Clement. That's great. Great bargain. There's just not a lot of those. Also, Ernie Clement was developed by Cleveland.
Here you go.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Always appreciate the DMs, everybody. This last one is from Twitter. Before we go to YouTube here, this is from Dennis. He goes, "Do we even know who's starting today yet, boys?" So that was this morning. We do. It was just announced. Jose Urena, who was recently signed to a contract by the Blue Jays along with Spencer Turnbull. Obviously, there is some wacky things going on with pitching depth right now. Max Scherzer on the 60-day IL, which, by the way, he's still eligible for return May 30th. So it is retroactive, everybody, from when he was originally put onto the IL, which I think was April 4th or something like that. I could be wrong on my dates, but it's right around that beginning of
Day
June.
3 of the season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, literally after his first start. So yeah, probably, I think it might be May 30th. Anyways, all of this to say, I don't think that him going on the 60-day IL, I know I saw a lot of things on Twitter of, oh, we're never going to see Max pitch. I don't really think that's the case. And you know what? If Max Scherzer's healthy and contributing in the last half of the season, I'll take it. All for it.
Um, yeah, I don't know how many more pitches he'll throw as a J, to be honest. I'm worried. I
I don't know
think
how many more pitches he'll throw in general.
well, that's it. I think he could have a there's a path to him. Well, I think he's motivated by his competitive nature, right? He wants to compete and wants to win and whatever. Hypothetically, he ends his 60-day IL stint at the end of May, not quite ready, whatever. Throw some rehab outings in AAA through June, and then into like late June, early July, he comes back and he pitches 4 or 5 starts for the Jays and looks good, looks competent, looks healthy,
And is traded at the deadline.
and is traded at the deadline, right? Like that's the path, right? Like if the Jays aren't likely for a while, like if we're talking like it's late July and we're still a couple games under 500,
Mm-hmm.
he's a good trade candidate, right?
I would agree with that.
Like for a rental, like if you're gonna take a flyer on, like if you're the Diamondbacks or the Padres or
Yeah.
whatever, and you're like, you know what, let's go take a flyer on a guy and throw a medium weight prospect for a guy with real experience. What's the downside? So I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the best thing to come out of Max Scherzer is we end up with a AAA third baseman who's ready to go next year. I don't know.
Going to YouTube. Wrapping things up here. This is from day 4. He goes, awesome. You got Keegan Matheson here. I think hitting got worse since they brought in Don Mattingly. That's another correlation with where he came in. We can blame Don Mattingly. I still am just fine blaming Russ Atkins and Mark Shapiro for this whole mess, but a little bit of blame to share for everyone.
Oh man, I blame the players. Is that all right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey,
I just
let's
want to,
spread it around.
you know what? Accountability for the guys that it just aren't getting it done. We've was it Guillermo Martinez before? We
Mm-hmm.
got rid of him. Hopkins was supposed to be the answer.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what happened there? Like all of a sudden, maybe it's not the guys telling him how to swing. Maybe it's the guys swinging. I don't know. Am I overthinking this?
If he's such a good ball player, why doesn't he play good?
Yeah, there we go. That's great. Put it on a t-shirt.
Yeah. Okay, going to a longtime listener and many time commenter here on YouTube, Marcus G says, I don't know, guys. Record doesn't really dictate watchability. The offense is still
That's
struggling
true.
to scratch together offense, and our run differential is terrible. Terrible. Don't know if all of this is sustainable. I mean, straight up, it's not sustainable if it continues this way. This team will be out of the playoffs if they continue to play this way. They're still
Um,
not that far out though, Adam. Like that, I know I'm gonna get told I'm full of hopium. I'm gonna get told that I'm overly positive here. People will probably even think that I'm insane in looking at something that has happened this way over and over and expecting a different result. I get that. I just don't think the American League's that strong. And I don't think any team's running away with it. Right now, the Seattle Mariners are the team running away with it, guys. The Mariners.
okay. I just explain this comment and how it makes sense to me. That like, what did he say? Record doesn't translate to
So,
watchability?
so I think what happened is we were talking. This was after the Boston series, and we were talking about the home runs and how much more watchable it has gotten. And
Hmm.
I think we were commenting more on those two games. I get where Marcus is coming from here because I'm with him. Like just because they got back to 500 does not mean they are watchable. However, I will say if they can start hitting some home runs, it does make it more watchable because it gives the semblance of a team that can come back. It's hard to watch a team that anytime they go down, you're like, well, this game's over.
Truly. Before the game even starts, though, how about let's tune in ability? Is that, am I making up a word here? Tune in ability? Record affects that, right?
Yeah.
Like, for two games under 500, and this is our team, or this is our team, but we're tied with the Yankees at the lead of the division at what's their record? Um, oh shit, Yankees are only 19 and 16 right now. They
Yeah.
lost three in a row.
Yeah.
Um, you're tuning in if this team's winning, regardless of how they get it done, no?
Yeah. Look at 2023. We all hated that team. We were stuck to the TV every day.
Ah, the good old days.
All right, final question of mailbag. Thank you all so very much for tuning in, and thank you so much for so much interaction over the last week. We always appreciate it. You can DM us on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast, Instagram the Walk Off Podcast, same with Blue Sky, or you can join the Patreon and get that Patreon bump automatically, getting your question and comments in. This last one is from YouTube, and I don't even remember saying anything negative about the A's. But we got under somebody's skin here pretty heavily, Adam. This is Journey for Beginners. He goes,
I saw this one.
A's have a better record than the Boo Jays. You know he's mad when he's bringing out Boo Jays. They don't have a fifth ranked payroll, too. LMA, this one cracked him up. Laughed his ass off at that one. Brand new stadium in Vegas will be better than your upgraded trash can. So let's hear some more A's slander you guys like to bring up. I honestly, dude, was racking my brain. I have no idea what we said about the A's to get this guy so worked up, but he is angry. He's so angry at him. He's bragging about how little the A's pay their team and talking about a stadium they haven't broken ground yet on. So, anyways, I'm not going to throw stones at a man. This is a man not even in a glass house. They don't even have a home. So if we have offended any athletics fans, definitely not the goal here. I mean, That's kicking somebody when they're down and out, and I don't remember what we said, but
Yeah,
what?
something about don't throw stones at a guy with blueprints of a glass house or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. With a tentative deal for a glass house? I don't know.
A tentative deal.
Yeah,
Yes. All
yeah,
right.
there you go.
Well,
Athletics, I almost said Oakland. I don't, were
no,
they
don't
playing
want to.
Sacramento right
No,
now?
don't want to do that.
Maybe Vegas one day.
Yeah,
They currently, yeah, have a better record than us.
they
It's
do. That's the one thing that he really nailed in this comment.
you know what? I always laugh when I see these posts where it's like, here's every Major League Baseball team's starting lineup if they only rostered players they drafted. And I always look at how fucking amazing
Yeah.
the Athletics would be.
Yeah.
It's like
I
Aaron
mean,
Judge, man.
we're sitting here. Our player development is the blueprint to a glass house. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, no, the A's have definitely developed incredible stars over the years, and it's really too bad that their owner, John Fisher, is a giant piece of shit who's in it for
Yeah.
himself and could care less about the community and baseball in general, really. So the
Yep.
world we live in. To all the
Mhm.
Oakland fans who have taken offense to us in the past, I truly apologize.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we're picking a fight here with someone I didn't even know we were picking a fight with, but
There you go.
all right. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. We do appreciate you. Baseball Town, Thursday, May 15th. Get your tickets. Those are in the comments section, in the description, or comedybar.ca if you're listening audio wise. And we will see everybody on Friday. Cheers.